Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Headline. Now, the Supreme Court today refused to stay the Election Commission's decision to allot the Shiv Sena symbol and party name to Eknath Shinde. At the same time, they have recorded a promise from the Shinde camp that Uddhav Thackeray's lawmakers will not face disqualification. So that could be seen as a ray of hope for the Uddhav camp. Some positives from both sides. But remember, this was just day one. The Shinde camp is celebrating the fact that there's no stay order, which means the Election Commission's order continues to apply for now. And for the Uddhav camp, there is no threat of disqualification of their lawmakers. But really, what are the implications of this very, very important hearing? Because remember, the Supreme Court is seized of two questions right now. One is the disqualification notice of the first 16 Shiv Sena MLAs who had defected. The decision on that will really have a domino effect on whatever happened next. Uddhav Thackeray is also fighting to retain his party symbol and name that the Election Commission ruled would now belong to Eknath Shinde's grouping. To speak more on this, I'm joined now by Mahesh Jethmalani, senior advocate in the Supreme Court. He is representing the Shinde camp. Mr. Jethmalani, thank you for speaking with us on Beyond the Headline. In today's order, there seems to be two parts to it. One, of course, the Supreme Court has refused to stay the Election Commission's decision to allot the Sena symbol and name to the Shinde camp. On the other hand, there is going to be no move. They've not allowed any move to disqualify Uddhav Thackeray's lawmakers. Do you see this as a victory for the Shinde camp, or is it status quo?
Well, look, the other side had pinned a lot of hope in getting an interim stay, right? They wanted it. They didn't get it. I think the Supreme Court was right in not giving them to me, respectfully, that the Supreme Court was right in not giving it to them because, you know, this is ex-party at the moment. We have to file and they'll get a chance. It's not over. The final hearing of this petition, this SLP filed by the other side, will have its day in court. But at the interim stage, the court hasn't felt any need to intervene. As far as the other action is concerned, it's only on disqualification. That was a statement already made earlier to the three-judge bench headed by then Chief Justice Tamanna when he referred this matter to a five-judge bench that no action would be taken on pending disqualification petitions. That was a statement made, and statement was made on behalf of the Speaker, that is now the new Speaker, that no disqualification proceedings will ensue. So that's all that's happened. This is only a continuation of the earlier statement, and we are bound to do it because the constitutional bench judgment that is deciding hearing, which is going to decide the other issues, barring the question of who is the real Shiv Sena, right, which is pending before it, on the reference, that continues. That will continue even tomorrow.
So, you know, some very serious comments have come in from Uddhav Thackeray's followers. Sharad Pawar today has also raised question about the EC action, saying that the party has essentially been handed over to someone who rebelled. Does this then have larger implications, this entire case, have larger implications for how parties split and governments change in Indian politics?
No, because Eknath Shinde has always been claiming that ideologically, with support in the party base, with the undoubted majority support of legislators at the center and in the state, he is the real Shiv Sena. He has the following of the cadre of the organization, and he has the following of the legislators, right? That makes him entitled to be the real Shiv Sena. So where is the question? The Election Commission has found that out. They've upheld his right to be the inheritor to the real Shiv Sena. So the other side may say, and I don't know, Sharad Pawar seems to be making a different statement every day. Yesterday he said that, Uddhav Thackeray shouldn't be fighting for this. He should leave it. I read his statement only yesterday that there's no point fighting for that he, according to Sharad Pawar, Uddhav Thackeray could do equally well at the elections with the Mashal and the other name which he has got.
No, but today...
The Mashal is his symbol and the new name which he has been given in the interim. So he said he shouldn't fight for the...
Yeah, but today Sharad Pawar has said that Balasaheb Thackeray gave the party to Uddhav before his demise, he made it very clear that Uddhav would lead. And this is something that the Election Commission has ignored.
What do you mean giving the party? The party is not something which you hand down from generation to generation. I mean, dynastic parties may have that pipe dream, but it doesn't happen that way. If you don't deliver, or if you compromise your ideology, and if you make friends with age-old enemies and betray a pre-poll alliance, things will happen. The party doesn't. The party is not some family heirloom. The party is its organization. It's about everyday people and their blood, who have given their blood, sweat, and tears for the party. They don't like what's happening, right? Eknath Shinde ji is one of the most prominent grassroots workers of the party who has come up the hard way. He's come up from humble origins to becoming a chief minister today. He was also a minister appointed by Uddhav Thackeray. Right? He's been loyal to Bala Sahib since times immemorial. So what happens? There's a churning process. I mean, Uddhav Thackeray can't do anything he wants, right? Compromise everything that the party stood for, and then cry when people leave him.
So, another very important aspect of this entire situation is the Election Commission's order that bases it in part by saying that the 2018 constitution of the Shiv Sena that they changed is undemocratic. Now, the question is, can the Election Commission decide whether the internal constitution of a party is democratic, undemocratic, viable, should be recognized or not?
It can. I mean, it's done so. I mean, that's the history, right? The Election Commission, it's part of its duty to ensure that in a democratic country, the internal party structure is democratic. That's all. And in 1997, it issued instructions to every political party to bring their constitutions in line with democratic practices, which in the case of a political party meant that you have organizational elections, that you democratize your entire organizational structure. Bala Sahib Thackeray first said he resisted it, and finally even he accepted, and the constitution was amended in 1999. In 2018, two people in the party, I'm not going into any details now, suddenly propounded a constitution which reversed that entire trends in 1999 and brought in a constitution in 2018 where the entire Pratinidhi Sabha, which is the supreme body in the Shiv Sena, right, is nominated exclusively by Uddhav Thackeray as the Pramukh, right? So a practice that had developed, a democratic practice which the Election Commission had enforced in the Shiv Sena, was surreptitiously then changed to an autocratic one in the organization. That's all that they've said. It was pointed out by us. In fact, the Election Commission has gone and said they've relied upon a constitution which was never submitted to us. When you change your constitution, it is mandatory to submit it to the Election Commission. It's not on the Election Commission's record. That even the Eknath Shinde group didn't know that. We learned from the order.
I want to just take a little bit of a big picture here, Mr. Jethmalani. What is the real impact of the outcome of this case in court? If they, for example, if the top court upholds the disqualification of the 16 MLAs way back when this all started, reverses the Election Commission's order and gives back the symbol to Uddhav Thackeray, what happens? Does anything change politically? Can the sequence of events actually be reversed in real terms, or has the horse bolted the stable?
Well, that's a question for the court to decide. It's a question that's still pending. So I'm not going to say anything on that. I have my own personal view on the, credibility of that argument, but I'm not going to mouth it right now because it's sub judice, right? But yes, there's an argument going on that as of today, right, it is still open to the court to set the clock back, right? Restore the status quo ante because of various illegalities caused in the matter of disqualification, and therefore, right, there's something called a deemed disqualification, which dates back right to that previous day of 27th June or 21st June 2022. So set the clock back to that day. And I suppose by that it means even making Uddhav Thackeray the chief minister. That is being seriously contended before the Supreme Court.
Okay, so a lot remains to be seen. Remember, today was just day one. And as usually happens, both sides rush to claim victory. But it is literally just the beginning of this court battle. Thank you so much, Mr. Jethmalani, for speaking with us today.